I definitely want to apologize, man, because I think, before the season started and, we were talking about recruiting and stuff like that, and we kept saying we need more interior defensive linemen, especially after Rakes left. And what we didn't really realize was how much of a benefit Benny Wiley and Rachel from the nutrition team, and we already had the linemen we needed on the team. Like, we have some dudes that are just straight monsters, and with the great coaching that we're getting, we can see the benefits of having really good coaches and people who are committed to the program. And Lincoln Riley, setting the culture, telling the players what we need to be, man, the defense looks great, man.
Yes, we do. But I will tell you, we've had one big test, and we're about to hit the Big Ten schedule. And when I think you heard Matt and me saying is we're looking the season. And I think that the depth, I think I was on record saying even back into the summer that, hey, look, if these young guys come in, develop, hey, look, if some of the guys are already on the roster kind of step up, like which they've then I'm not as worried about it. Because what I'm worried about is not the beginning of the game, not our 22 against their 22. No, my worry was about what's it look like late in the third into the fourth quarter. What's it going to look like in late October and November? That's the picture that we're not totally sure about yet, but you have to be completely optimistic from what we've seen so far. Let's see a couple more of these contests like we saw where you had LSU, who was absolutely committed to running the ball down our throat. You're going to see another one. Michigan, because they sure as hell can't throw the ball, they're going to try to run the ball at USC and really try to pin their ears back. And maybe it's an offensive line that's not maybe as highly touted as the LSU guys telling us this is the best LSU offensive line ever at LSU. There might be a veteran defensive line that we go up against that may give us trouble late into a game. I don't think we've fully answered that question yet, Matt. I'm not totally comfortable putting that one to bed. What I am saying and what I have said is two things. One, it sure looks like they've made the adjustments. No, I don't think we need the worry and freaking out over not getting that nose tackle isn't so big a deal as we thought it was. But we really won't know until we have, and I'm not saying actual injuries, but some guys dinged up playing hurt, because we don't get the reps in. It looks like we've had that situation. I want to know what this looks like later in the year. If we say, God forbid we have a couple of injuries, what does that depth look like down the road? Matt, your thoughts on can we just put that one to bed, or do you still want to see what these younger guys can step up and completely show us they can take and again, what I'm talking about is just a pounding of fifth-year like offensive linemen that are 315, 320 pounds that are just leaning on them for 60 minutes. That's my concern.
Yeah, hey, through 2 games, strength training, strength and conditioning looks really good. Benny Wiley doing a really good job. However, and I'm not about to criticize anyone. This is just really a wait and see comment. USC not only has this Michigan game coming up as the next game on the slate, but USC, because it has this off week in the middle of September, USC does not have another off week until November 9. So USC is not only playing 7 straight Saturdays, starting with the Michigan game on September 21st, but now 7 straight games against Big Ten teams. And so we're going to find out about the stamina, the depth, the endurance, the staying power week to week. And, you're like USC's going to fly to Ann Arbor, but after, 2 weeks off. So it's not really as much of a grind going to Ann Arbor, the Big Ten travel that we've been talking about all off season, but USC will eventually get into that mode, host Wisconsin, go to Minnesota, host Penn State, go to Maryland, host Rutgers on a short week, go to Seattle. So you're playing 7 consecutive weeks with the cross-country travel against a lot of tough teams. Rutgers is not an elite team, but Rutgers plays a physical, hard-nosed style of ball. So the Trojans will need to be fresh. They'll need to be physically ready to play that game. Not saying that That game's going to be uniquely tough, but like Rutgers isn't going to be a pillow fight. It's going to, that Rutgers is going to require something of USC physically. So week after week, these games are going to stack up. And I think they're really, you divide this 7 games sequence coming up into 2 segments. The first segment's the big hitters, right? Michigan, Wisconsin, Penn State, 3 of those in a 4-week span. And then after Penn State, it's, can you, whether winning or losing, can you then avoid a letdown? Can you avoid a lull in that Maryland, Rutgers, Washington 3-game stack leading into that next off week on November 9th? So really the next 4 games, Michigan through Penn State, and then those other 3 games, Maryland through Washington, by November 2nd, we will then really know about this team. But in particular, through the Penn State game, Michigan, Wisconsin, Penn State, if USC navigates those pretty smoothly, we will get clear answers. They're coming. I don't think we should be making pronouncements right now. Let's keep in mind, after USC obliterated Stanford last year in September, we were thinking, hey, this defense played well to the finish, but we didn't know how bad Stanford actually was, and obviously the how weak the early season schedule was for USC masked some of the deficiencies. So the conversation did change a lot over the course of last season. It could change a lot over the course of this season. So hey, great job by this staff through 2 weeks. But again, it's just early, and we need to see this team ride through some ups and downs. And by saying ups and downs, I'm not saying that means, we're going to get picked off by Michigan. I don't mean that. I'm just saying, it's not just going to go straight up. That's not how seasons go. Even for successful teams, everyone runs into adversity. The exception being 1995 Nebraska. And I don't think anyone's going to confuse this USC team with 1995 Nebraska. So let's let the season play out, run its course, and we'll get better answers about everything before too long.
So Matt went into a lot of detail on that, but yes, all of that, what he just said, because I'm very excited what we're seeing on the field. We need to see it for 12 games. And then if the team is good as we think it is, and it might get to the playoffs, and then we're going to need to see it for additional games. So I'm very excited. And I think that the coaching staff has completely vindicated themselves why they start going throwing big dollars at those tackles that, quite frankly, probably weren't as talented as some of the guys that we already have on our roster. So I'm okay with that. What I am still worried about is how do we hold up? I'm not saying we're not going to hold up. I'm saying we're going to need to see it. This is just another show me kind of situation. And, but I'm very, very positive about us being able to do that. But I hope that answers in quite detail your question, Leon.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I'm not saying we should have knocked them the next coming of the Bears 85 defensive line. But one thing I stood out watching the LSU game 3 or 4 times, the snap count of our defensive line, 20 reps, 30 reps, rotating guys in. And if you watch the fourth quarter, the LSU linemen were tired. They didn't have any more fight left in them. And everybody saw the video that I know I posted on Twitter when Anthony Lucas basically decapitated the guard when he was pulling. They didn't want any more of the USC defensive line. And if you go look at some of the teams that Matt was talking about that we're going to play, Maryland and Michigan lines, I don't see anything that should scare us as long as we take care of business and come in with the same hunger and the same fight we did the first game.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught it or not, but I actually played that during our intro. If you probably didn't catch our call-in show last week, but I snuck that in as an Easter egg into the normal intro. But yeah, great call, Leon. Appreciate it. I think we have a lot to look forward to. I think we need everyone to slow down, enjoy the victory, be excited. But seriously, I know we're not playing on the game in 2 weeks, but even as fans, you guys got to keep your heads a little bit cooler, because to think that we're just going to walk right into Ann Arbor for the first conference game against a very, excuse the metaphor, but a wounded animal in the Michigan team right now. They have their backs against the wall. There's a lot of pride on the line, top of the defending national champions, and you want to walk right into their home when they've been kind of embarrassed and just think you're going to walk right through us. This team's going to come fired up, and they have NFL talent on that defense. USC's got to take care, like we talked about, take care of the ball and be focused. You got to make that. You got to make those plays. You got to have that mental strength. So great call. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Leon.
Yes, sir. Fight on. See y'all later.